Many wealthy Nigerians make this one costly mistake without realizing it. They rely on verbal agreements in business. It feels harmless. You trust your friend, your brother, your business partner, and you seal the deal with a handshake or just a promise over drinks, or even at a family gathering. It looks like a gentleman's agreement, built on trust, and everyone walks away feeling comfortable. But do you know that the biggest lawsuits in Nigeria started with just one verbal agreement? This so-called gentleman's agreement has cost people billions of naira, destroyed friendships, broken family ties, and even collapsed successful companies. In today's video, I want to expose why verbal agreements are silent business killers. I'll share real-life examples of how they go wrong, the legal reality behind them, and most importantly, the practical steps you must take to protect your wealth and your business. Let's begin by asking, why do verbal agreements feel safe to us? Why do wealthy Nigerians, people who should know better, still fall into this trap? First, verbal agreements are fast. You don't need to sit down with a lawyer. You don't need to draft documents. You don't even need to schedule a meeting. A simple conversation seals the deal. Second, they are built on trust. In our culture, relationships are everything. When someone is a family member, a childhood friend, or someone who has been there for you, you feel it to be an insult to demand a written agreement. Thirdly, verbal agreements avoid stress. Many wealthy Nigerians don't like dragging out deals with lengthy documents. They want things done quickly and often see lawyers as slowing things down. But here is the bitter truth. The law does not protect what you cannot prove. In business, your word is not enough. When money starts flowing, when profits begin to multiply, memory suddenly fails. People forget, or people pretend to forget what was said. And when the matter ends up in court, it is almost always the party without evidence that suffers. Let me give you a few examples of how verbal agreements have destroyed the wealth of some of the clients I've worked with. Take the case of two friends who start an oil supply business. One brings in the money to fund the operations, while the other uses his connections to influence and secure deals. They agreed verbally to share profits 50-50. For 2 years, the business grows until it reaches a turnover of about 500 million naira. Suddenly, the partner with connections claims he never agreed to 50-50. According to him, the agreement was 70-30. The one who invested the money insists otherwise. But in court, there is no written proof, no signed agreement, no email, no witnesses. The funder loses out, and the so-called friend walked away with the lion's share. Here is another one. A real estate investor verbally agrees with a landowner to buy 10 plots of land with payment to be spread over 1 year. Confident in the agreement, the investor immediately begins development. He even resells some of the plot of land to third parties. Halfway through the year, before full payment is made, the landowner denies ever selling the land. He resells the same plot to another buyer who now has valid title documents. The investor loses everything: his money, his buyers, his reputation. Even within families, verbal agreement cause endless pain. Imagine a wealthy father telling one son in private, "Don't worry, this warehouse is yours for your logistics business." The son trusts his father's words and spends millions upgrading the warehouse. Years later, after the father's death, other siblings contest the property. There is no written will, no documentation, no letter, just a verbal promise. What happens next? A bitter family court battle. And the child who trusted the father's words often loses. These are not fairy tales. They are real disputes I have seen in the Nigerian courts. And in almost every case, the person who thought trust was enough ends up the loser. Now let's talk about the legal reality. Some of you may be asking, but isn't verbal agreement still valid in law? And the answer is yes. In theory, Nigerian law recognizes verbal agreements as potentially binding. But here's the catch. You must prove there was actually an agreement. You must also prove the exact terms of that agreement. You must prove that both parties genuinely consented to those terms. And how do you prove something that was never written down? Unless there are independent witnesses, recordings, or follow-up correspondence. You can't. The courts are not mind readers. They cannot reconstruct a conversation that happened years ago between two people. This is why most verbal agreements collapse in court. In business, what you cannot prove, you cannot enforce. So what's the way forward? How do you protect yourself? First, always put it in writing. It doesn't matter if it was your closest friend, your brother, or your cousin. Put it down. The moment money is involved, trust alone is never enough. Secondly, sign a simple agreement. It doesn't have to be 20 pages of complicated legal language. Even a well-drafted 2-page agreement can save you millions in court. Thirdly, involve a lawyer early. Wealthy Nigerians often make the mistake of calling a lawyer only when things have gone wrong. By that time, it is usually too late. Litigation is far more expensive than prevention. A 1-hour consultation with a lawyer will save you 10 years of a bitter court battle. Fourthly, use proper legal structures. If it's a business, register with the Corporate Affairs Commission. If it's a property transaction, ensure the documents are complete. If it's a partnership, formalize it. Let me remind you of this. A 1-hour meeting with a lawyer is cheaper than 10 years of wasted time, wasted money, and wasted peace of mind. So here is my advice to you. If you're a business owner, an investor, or a professional handling high-value transactions, stop relying on trust and handshakes. We live in a country where blood brothers drag each other to court over money. Protect yourself. Protect your wealth. I work with wealthy Nigerians to draft solid agreements, structure businesses properly, and secure assets against disputes. If you don't want to become the next tragic story of lost wealth and a broken trust, take action now. My contact details are in the description. Remember, trust is good, but a signed agreement is better. If you found this video helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and share it with a friend. Thank you for watching, and never forget, wealth without legal protection is wealth at risk.